Hello, everybody. So I'm Dr. Daidra Marano, licensed clinical psychologist, and also known as Yamadi for various yoga teacher trainings, backgrounds, 200-hour, 500-hour trained, and here to talk about healthy lifestyles and maintainable weights for people, and also to kind of touch on fad dieting and the psychological impacts of that. So what does that look like and what does that mean? In today's day and age, people sometimes restrict themselves, go on fad diets like the military diet, the Atkins diet, keto, etc., and people get extremely restrictive about what they're doing. They become somewhat obsessive. It takes a lot of discipline to actually be able to maintain those things. But then things turn into somewhat unhealthy habits where we can become so restrictive that we're not actually getting the benefits of all the different food groups because we're simply limiting ourselves to such extremes. And then that can start to become a little less healthy and a lot more negative in relation to how we view ourselves. So to me, how to sustain a healthy lifestyle, healthy weight, and healthy living is to make small changes. And so what does that look like? To me, making sure that we are lightly exercising. You don't have to do Orange Theory every day and do double workouts and run stairs and things like that. Can you do a light yoga class a couple times a week to maintain weight? Can you make some small changes to your diet on a day-to-day basis that still allows you to eat some potato chips and maybe a piece of cake? To me, what is sustainable and somewhat fulfilling? But what that would also include is not only light exercise, you want to include, getting your daily water intake, even if that means drinking flavored water or teas without all the added sugar and added calories. Maybe adding peppermint to your water, maybe adding vanilla to your water, but making sure that you're flushing the organs and staying hydrated. You want to make sure that if you like to snack, you have things to snack on that are not always the bag of potato chips, but maybe yogurt or granola bars or things that can be fast, but making sure that they're not always fat-based foods and salt-based foods, which retain water. Some of the other small changes that I like to make is I always like to ensure that I have enough vegetables and protein of choice. I don't eat that much meat, so getting away from eating a lot of, this is obviously personal for me, getting away from eating a lot of, I haven't touched red meat for a while, but do I include hummus in my diet? Do I include eggs or egg whites? How do I get my proteins if it's fish over chicken or fowl? But making sure that at least some of that's in there so that I'm not extremely restrictive and kind of giving yourself a break about, I have a craving for meat, so I decided to eat a steak once a month. So to me, moderation is key. And the more we restrict ourselves, the more we actually want to eat those things and then become obsessive and eat a whole cake versus a piece of cake. I think the other thing to think about is in relation to organic versus non-organic, and not speaking about this psychologically, but just speaking about this when it comes to price point, is there's several organic fruits and vegetables that are extremely pricey, and I think that's not always sustainable. It's not sustainable for me. So what I like to do is I like to look at the fruits and vegetables that contain the most pesticides. You can always Pinterest this stuff because it's super telling, and I think it's called the Dirty Dozen, and it'll tell you which fruits and vegetables you absolutely want to stay away from that have the most pesticides. Those are the ones I get that are organic. And then the other ones I just buy regular. To me, that is sustainable and that's more reasonable. So you're not always spending the money that you don't need to on things that you don't have to necessarily. I always also switch to the organic olive oil because there's a lot of pesticides sprayed in regular olive oil. So to me, I'd rather spend the money if it's $5, $6, $7, $8 on organic olive oil, organic grapeseed oil, organic sesame oil, any of the oils that you use in your cooking. I buy organic because that can go directly to the organs, and you don't want pesticides going directly to the organs. So we can do a lot of things for our body to help create a better living environment in the body that you live in. I also switched from butter to ghee. I get my ghee with vanilla bean, and I use that for certain things, and then I get my ghee with turmeric, and it's actually awesome, and it enhances the flavor of your vegetables, so making you want to eat more vegetables. I also don't use regular salt. I use Himalayan pink salt, and then I don't feel so bad about using salt on my food. So I make a couple different changes that then don't allow me the guilt of having to suffer through, oh my God, I just added butter or mayonnaise to my sandwich. I'm like, no, I added butter and I added mayonnaise, but now my mayonnaise was safflower mayonnaise versus Cool Whip with a bunch of chemicals and things I don't know that's in there. So I think, to me, that's how you maintain a healthy lifestyle without actually having to make significant changes. And with that, it also means you might have to try different options. So there's always like olive oil mayonnaise, there's safflower mayonnaise. I kind of stay away from the low fat and the fat free because I think that stuff has a lot of chemicals, but I try to go with what tastes good. I'm not going to survive on things that taste terrible, and I'm not going to eat them. So, I have also even tried different veggie and tofu cheeses, and either they're a go or they're not a go, but I still like to have flavor in my food, and I think that's important because I think that the whole idea of eating to survive actually keeps us at a healthy weight, but we have to somewhat enjoy what we're eating or it's not going to work long term. So I think if you follow a few different things over a long period of time, and as you acclimate and get used to it, your taste buds change, and then psychologically you don't feel like you're going without all the time, because you shouldn't go without. You shouldn't go without a piece of cake, but you also shouldn't eat a whole entire cake. You shouldn't go without having a couple potato chips, but you don't have to eat 3 bags of potato chips. You shouldn't go without pasta. So there are healthy grains, but you can switch from your white flour pasta, and you can do spelt. But with that, you're going to try a bunch of different kinds of spelt pastas. They also have like the lentil-based pastas and things like that, but some of them get really mushy. So you want to try different brands, and don't just give up after you try one brand and you're like, this is horrible. Try a couple different ones so you can see which ones you do like. But that lets you be the person that's in control and discovering what's out there. There's plenty of things out there that you can actually try and like, but you're not going to like all of it. And it might be based on taste, it might be based on texture, but to me, that's navigating a whole sea of things that you have available to you that you maybe just have not tried or given a chance. So instead of being extremely rigid and restrictive, which doesn't last very long and is not necessarily healthy, be more of an entrepreneur and navigate different options without giving it up entirely, but find and discover what you do like and then stick with that, because long term it's going to be healthier. So, blessings.